What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka All Fires. Now, there have been two names more ubiquitous than others when it comes to characters and actors returning in the MCU. The first of which, Steve Rogers' Captain America, we report on once about every 6 months, as the rumors have still loomed that there is some secret project on the horizon before the end of the multiverse saga that'll see Steve Rogers making his way back into the MCU. And for now, we're going to leave that earmarked as the mysterious Nomad Project, which has been in the rumor mill since 2020, but we've yet to hear anything official from Marvel. Now, the other name has obviously been Tony Stark Iron Man, and a return of Robert Downey Jr. was recently all over the headlines a couple of weeks ago when different industry insiders started remarking that not only was he about to sign a huge deal, but we would see him as a cameo in Secret Wars and perhaps some other projects leading up to it, like Armor Wars. But over this last week, with the official global marketing campaign for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Marvel Studios had some of their top executive producers out front alongside Kevin Feige talking very candidly about that multiverse saga, and one of them made a comment about his return, Robert Downey Jr., as no longer being on the table. This was misconstrued to make a ton of headlines everywhere as saying he wasn't returning at all. We're going to break down what he exactly said, who said this, separate fact from fiction, explain how and why what he said was taken a little out of context, and why it's very likely Robert Downey Jr. is actually returning by the end of Phase 6. This, of course, in the face of one huge caveat we'll explain as well. We're breaking it all down, RDJ's return as Iron Man in the MCU, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, and that's all we do. Everything from official Easter egg breakdowns, trailers, and reviews, to the occasional industry insider report, and everything in between. So, if that sort of thing's for you, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway, which will now coincide with the release of Guardians of the Galaxy in just a couple of months. Again, all you gotta do, be a sub, leave a comment on this video, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so the misconstrued quote in question actually came from one of the vice presidents over at Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios Vice President of Production and Development Stephen Broussard, when speaking to IO9, was talking about Phase 4 and, quote, a new generation stepping into the forefront as characters like RDJ's Iron Man were no longer on the table. This is exactly what he said, quote, well, I think one of the meta-narratives of Phase 4 was about new characters. It's about new people stepping into mantles. If you look at it like Cassie Lang in Quantumania, getting into the suit, and Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, new characters being introduced like Jack and Werewolf by Night. After these first 10 years of Marvel storytelling, torches being passed, like with Robert Downey Jr. no longer being on the table and stuff like that. So it was kind of a new generation stepping to the forefront, which has always happened in the comics. Now, first up, and pretty obviously, he was talking strictly about Marvel Phase 4, not Phase 5, not Phase 6, not what's to come in the multiverse saga or the narrative or through line for the overall saga, just strictly Phase 4. Also, you guys know me here at the channel, I've called this out many times. Marvel has what seems like some really good but pre-programmed responses for questions they know they're going to get. Whenever it comes to delays for their films or TV shows, they always call it, quote, a change in production schedule. And when it comes to Robert Downey Jr., we heard a quote almost exactly along these lines almost exactly a year ago when Multiverse of Madness was released. One of the writers said bringing back RDJ, or an Iron Man variant, at the time it was Tom Cruise's superior Iron Man, was a non-starter at Marvel, basically not at the table. They are saying what seems like the same thing, not to say that Marvel puts all their top brass in a room and pre-programs these responses, but it does certainly feel like they get on the same page when you start hearing very similar quotes from very different people in different settings in almost a year apart. When it comes to Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the MCU, the only caveat that I can foresee in the face of all of these industry insiders talking about him coming back is the caveat that he might not want to, something I hadn't considered up until real recently, but with the current state and direction of the MCU, the fandom is not in the same golden buzz that it was at the end of the multiverse saga, and to be fair, with the quality and quantity approach that Marvel's taken in the last 2 years, some of the warranted gripes about the quality have opened the door for unwarranted gripes and that white noise of the toxic fandom to creep in, where again, it just wasn't present, or at least didn't feel like it was in 2019. That being said, I think ultimately the, quote, very small toxic part of the fandom is not going to be what's responsible from holding Robert Downey Jr. back, and conversely, there's one variable in all of this that may be too enticing in terms of the amount of money that Marvel may seemingly offer him in order to come back, the rumors have been for a huge deal. Now keep in mind, Marvel has been publicly downsizing, rather slowing down their approach. They really want to focus on quantity, and they are doing cutbacks across Disney monetarily, laying people off, trying to tighten their belts. But when it comes to something like this is sort of a deal that is brand breaking. The amount of zeros don't quite matter to Disney as much as they might matter to Robert Downey Jr. And if that number makes sense for both of them, well, then he'll be suited up faster in Secret Wars than you can type Thor Love and Thunder wasn't that great of a movie. Now, what I will say is this is where you can start to get excited, and because of Disney and the money. If they're going to pay Robert Downey Jr. this kind of lump sum to come back as Iron Man in the future, whether he comes in from the multiverse, and we'll talk about that in a future video, most likely they're going to want him for more than just a cameo, more than just AI. They're going to want him to come back for at least a major part of the film. You're not going to pay Robert Downey Jr. huge money and have him do a voiceover or show him as a hologram or in a flashback scene. And while I think a flashback scene would probably suit Armor Wars, as we're learning more about Rhodey, his relationship with Stark and Stark Tech, a flashback scene for that could make total sense. When it comes to actual Secret Wars, anything less than him in the flesh, actually Tony Stark fighting alongside Reed Richards, the other Avengers, would just sort of not be worth the amount of money that they would pay him. So the exciting part is, if he's coming back for some good stuff. But what I will say in a final thought is that the multiverse saga really feels like it's going to focus on this last chance in the MCU to bring back as many characters as they can. We've already heard about Deadpool 3 looking to go past the X-Men and maybe even bring Magneto. We haven't had a chance to talk about that here at the channel, but Ian McKellen, according to Sir Patrick Stewart, is part of the plans as well. According to him, they have plans. When you can bring them back, the old Fantastic Four, we just saw how many versions of the multiverse there are, at least with the Kings that were present in the post-credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Sorry, slight spoiler warning there if you haven't seen it yet. You're telling me one of those multiverses, number 1062 or 925, 405, doesn't have an Iron Man who's going to be a part of the fight? Of course they do. And honestly, rather than seeing, Tom Cruise superior Iron Man pour out of a multiverse version, I'd much rather see Tony Stark come back. Superior Iron Man or not, RDJ would sort of be the icing on the cake, and especially if Marvel's cinematic universe can get itself on track and build towards an exciting conclusion in Secret Wars. As long as it's in the place that it needs to be, Robert Downey Jr. won't ruin it, he'll just add to it. But if the train is off the tracks by then, this is my final thought, and they think Robert Downey Jr. returning will save it, it won't. And we all know that. Robert Downey Jr. showing up in Secret Wars, if the storyline is completely a mess and something we don't care about, won't be enough to save it. Hence the caveat I brought up during this video, it will ultimately be up to RDJ from the outside looking in, reading the script that he might be a part of, seeing where the MCU is, and whether or not he wants to come back, and honestly, my fingers are crossed that he does. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below about anything I said. You might not agree with some of my takes during this video. I can appreciate that. I know that there is at least a small percentage of you at the channel who do not want to see him back, to which I totally understand. I'm all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Okay, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel, but this year we're doing it a little different. Instead of subscriber milestones, we're going to do it to coincide with Marvel movie releases. The next one is Guardians of the Galaxy in just a couple of months. If you want to be entered to win or for any of the other future giveaways at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below. Because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. And the best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. As I said, all announcements with winners happen at the end of videos and never in the comments. If you should see a spam or scammer comment on my channel, or really any channel on YouTube, claiming that you've won a prize, please remember, anybody can use anybody else's photograph, claim to be somebody. No YouTuber will ever ask you to contact them on a third-party app like WhatsApp or Telegram. No YouTuber will ever ask you to pay for shipping. Should you get one of those comments again on my channel or other channels, you are doing us a huge favor by reporting the comments. They get deleted and then they get deleted for everybody else. I have the hardest restriction set on commenting that allows you guys to comment, and they still find a way to beat the filter. So you are helping me out by reporting the comments, and I appreciate each and every one of you who do that. Thank you so much, and sorry for the inconvenience to all of you. My name is Michael Roman. Find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name Allfires. And while I sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.